Welcome, guys, to the A to Z of studying abroad. For all of you who are thinking about studying abroad in 2025 or 2026, maybe even sooner, this could be a very, very valuable webinar, right? So before we give you all this knowledge and gyan, right, the first question you should ask yourselves, or anybody who's giving you information, is why should we trust these people, right? So why should you trust us? Why should you listen to Suraj or me? And of course, we come from top universities, but that's ancient history now, right? So I come from Dartmouth College, where I did my MEM. Suraj went to Carnegie Mellon, where he did his graduate studies in data science, right? So I bring the management knowledge, he brings the data science knowledge. We've been to elite universities from not a very good undergraduate institution, so we understand how to build profiles and make it to elite schools, right? But that's not the most important thing. This is a slide which is a part of what the marketing team gave us, so that's what we are putting in, right? So before we move along, I'm just going to move on to the next slide, Suraj, if you could do that. So before we observe what's on this slide, right, and this is just from last year, understand this. When you're getting information from us, it's free of bias. The reason being, there's a couple of things, right? And this is going to be helpful for you all in future when you're seeking out advice from different people as well. Number one is we have no reason to push any information on you that is not true. Why I say that is, with Gradvine, right, we are a career guidance service. So in terms of recommending a degree to you, recommending a country to you, we don't gain anything if you pick a particular country or you pick a particular university or pick a particular degree. At the end of the day, we are not biased, or we don't gain by you making a certain choice. What I mean by that, to elaborate a little further, is that we don't have any tie-ups with any universities, right? So whether you choose to go to one university or the other, it doesn't make a difference to us, because we don't get a fat commission from universities. So tomorrow, if somebody is saying that they're doing their consulting process with them for free, always take it with a pinch of salt, because nobody does anything for free, right? They are getting money from somewhere, and it's probably the university that's giving them a commission to send you there, right? So we never push any inferior university to you. We don't push any university to you unless it adds a lot of value for your profile, right? Second thing, all of the advice that we give you actually comes from students, right? Over the last 7 years, we've guided thousands of students to the finest universities the world over. And these students get mentored by current graduates of the top universities themselves. So the data that we are getting you in terms of job opportunities is data that we are getting from actual students sitting at these universities looking for jobs, right? We have mentors who are studying at the dream programs that you might want to attend, who will handhold you and help you through the process, right? So the advice is very current. And once again, whether you're applying for a computer science and engineering management, an MIS and analytics and MBA, a master's in marketing, a master's in finance, it doesn't matter, right? We will only tell you whether it's good or bad or in which country in your best interest. There are no other hidden agendas here. As a result, you see the slide on your screen in terms of credibility. Not, just having the right intentions is not enough. You need to have the expertise and the track record as well. In the past year, for the fall 2024 intake only, we've had over 75 admissions or acceptances into Ivy League universities, the 8 esteemed Ivy League universities. And of course, almost more importantly, over 1,000 admits to the top 50 universities for individual programs worldwide, right? So that is the level of expertise and pedigree we bring in. Once again, if you can move to the next slide, Suraj. You can just chew on this in terms of the number of students that have gotten into universities. You'll see some numbers stand out. Duke, 46. There are more admits coming in. It easily will go past 50 this year. You're looking at something like a UIUC, again elite university. We are looking to upwards of 40 by the time the year ends. And Carnegie Mellon over 28, Purdue over 30. So in terms of getting a large volume of students to the top universities, we bring that expertise, and all that expertise and unbiased nature in combination is what is coming through to give you the information on this specific webinar, right? So every single thing I tell you in terms of the advice I'm giving you on this webinar is going to be backed by two things, guys. Number one is going to be logic. Everything is common sense. I'm going to back everything I tell you by logic. Suraj is going to back everything that we're going to tell you by logic, right? Simple common sense and facts. Second thing, it's going to be backed by past experience or past information. So it is only after we've noticed these results or these outcomes and these mistakes that people have made that we are going to translate to you. So if you listen in for the next 35, 40 minutes, it's going to save you a lot of pain, first of all, and it's going to save you months and months of research. Right. So again, some stats for you to, really believe us, because usually once people go on to Gradvine's webinars through the year, you start attending other master classes in August, September, you trust us, so we don't need to do this. In fact, after this session itself, you'll trust our information. But in general, because of the work we've done over the last 7 years, and the unbiased nature of our guidance, these are the results, right? Like, I'm sure you will find your university on this slide as well. And there's several others that we've not mentioned. And this is our track record, as you can see on the screen, for the last few years. So that's my marketing done. Now let's go and get into the meat of the issue. Suraj, actually, can we go back to the previous slide? We don't want to reveal this, right? I'm going to get this answer from you, right? We're going to keep it very simple. And we will use the chat box for this. So all of you here, when you're saying A to Z of studying abroad, you want to study abroad, right? You're probably wanting to pursue a master's degree abroad. My simple question is, why do you want to pursue a degree abroad, right? What is the reason? And be absolutely bluntly practical, right? This is a no nonsense session. So let's be blunt. Why do you want to pursue a degree abroad? Please type out your responses. Exposure, idealistic answer, but okay. Thirst for knowledge, very idealistic. Come on, let's be better standard of living. We are getting there. We are getting close. It's a very, very basic answer, right? It's a very raw answer almost. Money. I saw someone say money. Money in capital letters. I like that. We'll give the win to this gentleman. Money in capital letters, right? I'm going to make it a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit, right? Return on investment, right? Return on investment. Sure, money is the right word. At the end of the day, you want to earn money, but return on investment is the idea, right? So when I'm going to talk to you about which country to choose or which are the best countries for you to pursue a master's degree abroad, fundamentally it's going to be down to return on investment. How much are you spending on the degree? Are you able to earn that back, right? Or simply enough, if you're spending money in dollars or euros, you want to get a pay package in dollars or euros in your country of choice, right? And you want to experience that better standard of living or those career opportunities and that growth, right? So that is going to be the fundamental basis for you to look for a job overall. So there are two factors, guys. And please, whenever you're getting advice from somebody and you're evaluating which country to go for or programs to go for, whatever it is, two things that you absolutely have to keep in mind while picking your country. Number one, what are the visa norms and stay back periods in your country of choice, right? I know there are 4 things here, but keep this in mind. What are the visa norms and stay back periods in your country of choice? Number 2, what are the job opportunities for your sector in the country that you have chosen? 2 things: visa norms, stay back periods, job opportunities, and sectors. A lot of people go blindly with university rankings and say this university is ranked so high on QS rankings. Typically, there'll be a bunch of UK universities there, right? And then you'll think, okay, this is very high on QS university rankings. Anybody will give me a job. But the state of the UK economy is very, very poor. Again, I have nothing against the UK as a country. We help people go to the UK for MBA programs as well, to places like an LBS and an Oxford and a Cambridge. They do decently well. But if you go to anything below that, the job opportunities have been a little bit of a struggle overall, right? So don't blindly go after university rankings. Even though in the UK, the visa norms and the stay back periods are strong, the number of job opportunities for various sectors are very, very limited, right? And that's a specific example or case. So that is what you keep in mind when you're selecting your choice of country when you're doing a master's degree abroad. So here is some information. If you have a quick pen or paper, if you want to note down in your notes, please note this down overall. Here are some good countries overall. Again, this is not across degrees. We'll clarify across degrees in your specific Q&As, but the best countries where you can pursue a master's degree abroad in a reasonable sense. Here are a few, right? Number 1 is the USA, right? Again, I don't gain anything, or I'm not promoting the USA at all. But in terms of number of job opportunities, and if you do a STEM degree, right, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, with the 3-year OPT extension, we'll discuss that in detail if you wish, right? In terms of job opportunities, the USA is unparalleled. The visa norms for STEM designated degrees are extremely friendly. So there is no other country that really beats the USA in terms of return on investment. Even though the cost of education is high, what you'll be making back is several times higher, right? So it's high investment, but much, much higher return, right? Another country that's very, very good and underrated overall, the Netherlands, right? The Netherlands in Europe, right? Largely English speaking country. It offers a 12-month stay back period, which means you can stay back and look for a job for 12 months. And once you get your, employment, then your employer secures your work permit and you can work for as long as you hold down the job, right? So, okay, what is that? Never mind. So in terms of your stay back period, it is friendly, largely English speaking, and one of the stronger economies in Europe, right? So the Netherlands, very, very good option. Number 3, if cost is a major concern, Germany, right, offers an 18-month stay back period where you can stay back and look for a job. And after that, it's the usual work permit that you get. Cost of education is relatively lower, if not free at certain public universities. It is good for certain degrees like core mechanical, industrial, manufacturing, maybe computer science, data science, and certain business degrees, but not for all. And it is the biggest economy in Europe. So rest assured, they are looking for more and more talented foreign candidates to drive the workforce there, right? So the USA, the Netherlands, Germany for sure. If you're looking at business degrees, a master's in marketing, a master's in management, or an MBA, right, or core finance degrees, or you want to break into strategy consulting and management consulting, right? Maybe for the non-technical courses, France is a very, very good option. Again, strong economy has been strong for a while. There is a culture of companies hiring and sponsoring foreign candidates. You get a stay back period for 2 years where you can stay back and look for a job. And while you're looking for the job, you can also do a part-time job to cover your living expenses, right? So therefore, within 2 years, you should find a job in a strong economy like France. If you're pursuing the right degree at the right university, financially you're secure. And in terms of return on investment, it is good, right? Another country that's, gaining popularity at this point in time, Ireland, right? Again, changed the rules a little recently. You have about 2 years to stay back and look for a job, and that can be extended by a further 3 years, depending on the kind of degree and course that you're doing. Again, largely English-speaking population. Oh, I just missed this point. For Germany specifically, language is very, very important. If you do not learn German, don't go to Germany, even if the medium of instruction in your choice of university is English. After that, your job search becomes very, very difficult. You need to write your cover letters in German. You need to interview in German. You need to, needless to say, network in German, right? So Germany, as long as you know the language, is very, very solid, right? So these are a few of the countries. Now, I know some people will come and say Canada. I'm not recommending Canada strongly at all, due to a bunch of different reasons. But if you ask me this year, what are the best countries? The USA, the Netherlands, Germany, France, and Ireland, all very, very, very good in terms of prospects. But once again, I'd say the US would be the strongest in terms of career growth and ROI. Please don't go to QS rankings and pick some university in Switzerland that's very highly ranked and go blindly, because with that QS ranking paper, if there are visa norms that don't allow you to stay back, no company is going to recruit you. And think about it logically, right? Companies will only recruit in that country and will have a culture of recruiting foreign candidates if historically the visa norms have been friendly overall, right? Same situation with the UK, and I'm telling you UK specifically because a lot of consultancies will sell you UK, right? They will absolutely sell you UK, saying that it costs half as much as the US. It's very cheap. In fact, during COVID, they were selling the fact that you're going to get free vaccination, right? That's how desperate they are, because a large number of UK universities, even featured decently high on QS rankings, have tie-ups with consultancies. But after that, understand this. There is no point spending 30, 35 lakhs and not ending up with a job, where you'd rather spend 50 lakhs doing an education loan and earn about $110,000 a year. So return on investment should be a priority, not low cost. Don't fall prey to people trying to sell you and push universities down your throat, right? So overall, keep that in mind, right? I hope that helps. I think we can move on a little bit. I think the countries are clear. And Suraj, I think questions are coming through. Maybe we should answer them. Guys who joined late, we will not answer questions that are put in the chat box because it's impossible to manage two windows. Please use the Q&A box for any questions, and Suraj will start typing out some answers, and then we'll start answering them one by one as we go towards the end. All right. Before we go into the basic requirements, and some of you are typing furiously away in the Q&A box, I'm assuming, let me ask you a question, right, to make sure you guys are not asleep. Basic requirements are one thing, but in terms for education committees, right, for admissions committees rather, when they're evaluating your profile, mostly for technical master's degrees, I'll talk about the MBA guys a little later. For technical master's degrees, what do you think is the most important part of a person's profile? Right, you're seeing a few requirements there, but what do you think is the most important part for? All right, one person says SOP, SOP, SOP. Everybody thinks SOP. Somebody said Goa. Oh, that's GPA. Sorry. Okay. I really want to go to Goa now. Okay. Experience in GPA. All the guys who said GPA, you get the win, right? Your GPA is the most important factor for admission for any technical master's program. The reason being, a GPA is a reflection of your performance in an academic setting in a field of study that's going to be similar to your master's, right? So what you've done for 4 years in terms of your GPA is almost a reflection or an assumption of your potential success in the master's program. So GPA becomes very, very important. What could be number two? Let's take a couple of guesses, guys. What could be number two after the GPA? Work X, research. Bang on. I think we have a very, very intelligent audience. Only one or two fell for the trap of GRE, right? Your technical work, right? So I'm going to club all of this together. Your technical projects in college, if you don't have work experience, if you've done research papers, if you're applying for a technical master's program, if you have full-time work experience. So all the work you've done outside the classroom that is relevant to the master's degree that you want to apply to. How have you applied your academic knowledge to solve real world problems, right? That's what they want to see in terms of the aptitude and skill in your specific field. That is the second most important thing. If your GPA and your body of work relevant to your master's degree is solid, everything else is secondary. One thing, right? If you want one big takeaway from this webinar, note this down and freeze it in your mind. If the universities require GRE, right, for a technical master's program at least, it is only used it's only used for as a filtering parameter, right? To decide with what level of interest they're going to read your application. Typically, if you get a 315 plus, a 315 plus, the GRE is not likely going to be a reason for rejection. Anything above that, and you'll stand a chance at most top universities, provided your GPA is good and your body of work is good. Your statement of purpose, your letters of recommendation, all of this stuff, and your resume, which is incredibly, incredibly important, all is all additional requirements. It's only you conveying your profile overall, but your GPA, your body of work, your projects, and then after that, a little less so, your GRE becomes very, very important, right? Of course, I know I'm getting a lot of questions in the chat box about evaluating individual profiles. Maybe we'll do that later when we are covering the Q&A, right? Now, before I move on to the application timelines, right? And guys, please, questions are coming in the chat box. If you can just dump them in the Q&A box, copy paste them, it would be super helpful. Very difficult to juggle the two, right? Now, before I go into the timeline, actually, Suraj, can we skip to the previous slide? I'll explain the timeline, briefly. Here are a couple of things we can do, right? Now, there are a lot of questions coming through. I'm very certain, even though there's 2 of us on this webinar, we will not be able to answer every single one, right? It becomes incredibly difficult because of the paucity of time. We have a hard stop at 8, but we'll extend till 8:15, 8:20 also, but we still won't be able to answer all your questions. You can get your profile evaluated, get all your doubts clarified, right? Get all the unbiased advice from our team at any point of time by scheduling a free consultation call using the link that my colleague Jeevit will be putting in the chat box and the Q&A box, right? You can schedule it at your convenience. And this is not a sales call, it's a free consultation. You can get all the advice, get your profile evaluated, understand where you stand, and get some great advice. As a bonus, if you schedule that free consultation call with us and show up on the call, we are going to do 2 things. We are going to give you the resume format that we give our paid students, right? Our paid customers. This resume format has been prescribed by the career services at Ivy League universities themselves. So in terms of the standard and quality of that resume format, it's the best in the world. You're going to get that format, which you can use for your resume, for whatever, your job or even your degree applications, for absolutely free if you schedule that free consultation call. Second thing is, we are happy to announce, because all of you will be writing the GRE or planning the GRE soon, we have a collaboration with Magoosh, which is probably Magoosh, Google it. They're a California-based company, probably the best GRE preparation platform in the world in terms of the quality of material there, right? So if you sign up for that free consultation call, in addition to the resume format that you can use and the wonderful advice that you will get, you will also get a free practice test from Magoosh that you can use at any point, right? You can use it like a diagnostic test to see where you stand in terms of the score, or you can use it at any point in time to try and figure out how you stand with the actual GRE, and it will work as great practice, right? So schedule that free consultation call, and apart from the wonderful advice that you will get for free, you'll get these 2 resources as well. So please take your time and do that. That is exclusively for people who are attending this webinar and scheduling that free consultation call with us on our website or using the links that my colleague has provided. All right. So I hope you take that opportunity. It can be something wonderful for you. Let us move on. And this is where I want to get a sense, right, of what intake you guys are planning to apply to, or if you're unsure of the intakes, let me know, because I'll spend more time on that timeline, right? So are a lot of you planning to start college in the fall of 2025? All right. We see some responses. Fall. Fall, just to give you an idea, for those of you who don't know, is September of 2025, August, September 2025, around then. All right. Spring is January of 2025. It's the earlier intake, the non-traditional intake. So how many of you planning the fall intake? Fall. I think Suraj, vast majority is fall. So let's cover the fall. We will do an elaborate fall timeline with the pitfalls, but I'll run you through it very quickly, right? So if you are applying for the fall, very simple, just focus on the blue, right? Just forget the left side of the screen, just focus on the right side of the screen. And don't panic. I know you are maybe a little late according to the timeline, but this is the ideal timeline, right? If you deviate from this a little bit also, it's fine. So we are in April. So ideally, by this point in time, you should have started your preparation for the GRE or the TOEFL, right? If you didn't start TOEFL preparation also, it's fine. But you should have started your GRE preparation and you should be ready for an attempt very soon. Now, why are we asking you to give the GRE so very early? Is because universities do not care how many attempts you give on the GRE, right? So whether you give 1 attempt, 2 attempts, 3 attempts, it doesn't matter. They will only take your best ever score, right? So therefore, you are increasing your chances of getting a good score by giving multiple attempts, right? Second thing, the biggest problem with the GRE, right, in terms of why people tend to lose marks on the GRE is the pressure, right? Once you go into the GRE with an entrance test mentality, right? Like, okay, this is my only attempt, like the JEE or your, any other entrance exams you may have given as engineers. If you're going in with that attitude, that pressure is going to cut off 10 points. When you go in attempting early, knowing that, okay, in case it doesn't work out now, I can still give an attempt later on and secure a better score. I'll just give my best shot with a free mind because I have a lot of time. More often than not, it might work out in your first attempt as well, instead of panicking and giving it in October or November, 1 month before your deadlines, right? So if you start, your GRE preparation or give your first attempt sometime in April, it gives you a lot of time, right? Now, the next thing is, because we are on the topic of the GRE, by August 15th of this year, right, which is Independence Day in India, right? Please be independent of the GRE, right? Because after August 15th, it is crunch time for you to work on your application materials. That's the latest by which you have to start working on your application materials. Most of your deadlines for universities are going to be in November, December, January, typically. Some will be in March, but don't worry about them. Irrespective of when the deadline is, you should try and finish applying by the end of November overall, right? Therefore, if you want to start applying by the middle or end of November, you need 2 to 2.5 months to work on your application materials, which means by the middle of August, you have to be done with the GRE. Absolutely, right? And we'll get to the application material part and why I'm asking you to apply early, as I go along and talk about this, right? But be done with the GRE by the middle of August. Now, this is the biggest mistake which I see people making in this time of the year, right? They think, okay, we have a lot of time, 2.5 months for the materials. That's plenty of time. Why do I need to start early? Understand this, right? Once this time is gone, it's gone. You're going to be applying for a master's degree maybe once in your life. If you're twiddling your thumbs and wasting May, June, July, you're losing out on a lot of valuable time where you can research about universities and spend a lot of time with people who have knowledge, maybe with us, to try and understand the universities that you're applying to, your country of choice, and the courses that you're applying to, right? A lot of you will not know the difference between a master's in information systems and a business analytics. Which one is better? You might want to apply to a combination of MEM and MIS. Sometimes you might be wanting to apply from an electrical engineering to a CS, and that's not possible because you don't have 4 prerequisites, right? So all of this background work and consulting on what universities programs to apply to should be happening now. Don't start it in August just after the GRE. Once again, right, with your existing profile, we can make a very, very clear understanding and estimate of what kind of universities you can target. The GRE is only one small piece of the puzzle. So don't start thinking about universities thinking, okay, if I get 320 plus, I'll apply to MIT. It doesn't work like that, right? If you don't have the profile, even if you have a 335, you're not going to get into MIT. The rest of your profile matters a lot more, right? So spend this time researching universities with great detail, right? That's not on the timeline, but that's a common mistake that I see people doing. Now is when you should be doing research and talking to the right people. Don't do it in September or October because you might miss out on deadlines and you will not understand the application requirements at that point, right? So April, first attempt, hopefully. I know it's already middle of April. If you give it in May also, it's fine. Basically, to simplify it, whether you give 1 attempt, 2 attempts, 3 attempts, how many other attempts you want to give, budget permitting, finish all your attempts of the GRE by August. right? By the end of August or the early part of September, you need to start working on your application materials, your SOP, your recommendation letters, your resume. Because I'm on the topic of recommendation letters, maybe August end or September is a good time to start reaching out to your professor saying that, hey, I will need recommendation letters from you. Are you willing to submit it for me? And what do you need me to do? Do I need to draft it myself and send it to you? Or are you going to draft it yourself, right? Tell them that I'm going to be applying to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 universities, whatever it is. Please upload them by the month of October or November, well before the deadline, so that they're aware, right? If you go in the last minute, they're likely to be frustrated with so many students asking them, and they're going to take it out on you, right? Because you know how professors are, essentially. So please, please, please make that effort and seem organized and let them know that you are on top of the priority order for getting your recommendation letters uploaded. The months of September and October should be used by and large for you to work on your application materials. Now, why did I tell you that irrespective of the deadline to finish your applications by November end? This is because of a simple fact that we've seen, right? Like I said, we are going to back up everything by facts and what's happened in the past. We've seen universities which have deadlines on January 15th. People who applied by the end of November, they got interview calls or admissions by January 16th. Now, think about it logically. It is impossible for anyone to start reviewing applications after the deadline and give a decision in one day, right? So therefore, some sort of review is happening in the past. When Suraj and I were working with student admissions committees in the past, when we were at universities, we saw that even though decisions are not released, a lot of universities are reviewing applications well before the deadline. And they're sorting applications into 3 piles, yes, no, or maybe, right? So if your profile is good enough, right, you tick the basic boxes and you're put into the yes pile. After 2 weeks, if somebody with a better profile applies, your application won't be moved, right? Now, if you apply one day before the deadline, there are going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 very, very similar profiles. And that's when they're going to start nitpicking on minor things, right? We've seen on an average, you have a 10% better chance, right? And that's a huge number of getting in if you apply well before the deadline. So please, 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 if there's another big takeaway from this webinar, apply by the start or the middle of November. Don't wait till 1-2 days before the deadline to apply. A lot of people have regretted that, especially high competition degrees like a master's in computer science. Please apply as early as possible, right? So that is the fall timeline. In terms of the spring timeline, right? There's one big thing. You'd have read through it for those of you who are interested in spring, and I'll clarify doubts in the Q&A. Even though deadlines are in October, right? Spring, pretty much every program, every university, guys, it is rolling. They will not tell you that. Rolling means first come, first served. That means the sooner you apply, the sooner you're going to get your decision. Even though deadlines are in August, September, October, we've seen people apply in July, get their admits by the end of July or the first week of August. Whereas people are still chilling and applying by October, your seat has already been taken away by somebody else, right? So this should be your priority. By June or July, finish applying. See, for spring, there's not much of a timeline left, right? We are in April, you have to apply by July. Please start everything and finish it quickly. If you need assistance with the process, you can sign up with us. Once again, I'm reminding you, if you need any advice on these timelines, if you need advice on whether spring is better, fall is better, should you apply to US or should you apply to Canada? Should you apply to anywhere? All that advice will be given on that free consultation call, the link for which has been placed by my colleague here, right? So please schedule that free consultation call. If you schedule it and show up on that call, you'll be getting that free resume template and an absolutely free, GRE test from Magush, which is one of the best, providers of the GRE. It's going to be a high quality test. You're going to get it for absolutely free. So please do schedule that free consultation call. I'm seeing a comment again. People are using the chat box, guys. Please, we cannot respond there. I think the question was, a lot of universities are saying GRE is optional. A lot of universities are not, right? That's a misconception. And we'll tell you that lot is very subjective, depends on the university that you're targeting. But definitely consider giving the GRE this year. For 25, I don't think universities are going to be as kind. And in general, in 24 itself, students have with the GRE have had far greater success rates, even in universities where it is optional overall, right? So that is the timeline, and the time right now is 7:35. I think we've covered the timeline, the best countries, how admissions committees evaluate profiles. What else do we have next? Can we move along? All right. So, of course, with Gradvine, you get to work with mentors from these colleges. We are not a bunch of uncles and aunties or consultants with an English literature degree sitting down and telling you how to apply for a master's in computer science with a specialization in artificial intelligence. You're going to get a mentor with the same academic background with a fantastic academic record who's going to draft technically correct documents in conjunction with you to help universities understand why you are a fit for the university, right? Universities, I know a lot of you mentioned statements of purpose. They care about what kind of work you wish to do post the program. What kind of skills do you have that are going to take you towards your long-term goals in your field of choice, and what kind of skills you wish to pick up from the program. They don't want to see how beautiful the English language writing is, right? They want to see a technically correct SOP, a grounded narrative that's mature. We're not in high school anymore. We are master students. So that technical correctness is important, and you need people who have the technical background at the top universities helping you out with that, right? So that's another big tip that you need to absolutely consider overall. These are just a small number of universities that our mentors are from. And of course, our students have made it to, you would have seen the first slide, every single top 50 university in the world, pretty much, and in 10s and 20s and 30s, right? As you'd have seen, not small numbers. So these are a few of the testimonials. I want to let you, we are going to keep scrolling on that and move along. But I think now is the time where we can start taking your questions. I've been talking non-stop, hopefully adding some useful information for the last 30-35 minutes. I'm going to let Suraj take a couple of questions and start answering them, and then I'm going to take a few others as well. Please use the Q&A box to answer your questions, and please don't lose that opportunity to schedule that free consultation call. Oh, by the way, on that free consultation call also, there are ways in which you can save up to 15,000 rupees apparently on the TOEFL exam, right, through score reporting, and there are discounts that are available if you book the test early. So please, get that started. Application fee waivers. If you start early, you get all of this, right? So get started with the process, get the right advice quickly, and you get a lot of stuff for free apart from the wonderful advice as well. So I hope to see a lot of free consultations. Suraj, if you can take it away with the questions, we'll move.
Yeah, sounds good. While I have, this is the link to the free consultation. Just make sure to book one. I'm going to keep this on your screens available for you, and then straight away jump into a bunch of questions. I've already answered a few questions, just text on text, just texted while Srikar was talking nonstop. I will, if you did not get your answer, just make sure to type it out again. I will try and take some of these questions as well. All right. The first question is, I want to do my master's in financial engineering. Any idea about that specific field? I'm now in a third year of undergrad. How should I prepare for it? Financial engineering as a degree, first basics. Try and understand the difference between a master's in finance versus a master's in financial engineering. Which one has the more quantitative sections versus what your career aspirations are, and which is the right degree for you. In terms of financial engineering, a bunch of really good universities, the biggest factor that it comes down to is making sure that you're picking a university in a really good location. If you're looking at the US, East Coast, something that's in the West Coast, but specifically within Seattle, the Valley, or even in LA, SoCal, South California is okay. Chicago and Texas. Those are the only 4 locations that make sense for you to do anything related to finance within the US. There's a bunch of questions around folks that have gotten in this year. I'm going to skip that because this is an A to Z. This is for folks that are applying for next year. How hard is it to get into UC Santa Barbara?
I just want to intervene and talk about the financial engineering.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is where the unbiased advice comes in, right? Like, honestly, it would be the easiest for me to tell you wonderful things about the financial engineering degree and sell it to you, right? And it's a wonderful degree, no doubt, in terms of job opportunities. But typically what I've seen in the past is candidates with about 1 to 2 years of work experience, either with, core coding or while working in a fintech company. Now we have a bunch of different options and opportunities in fintech companies, right? They do better after they graduate. You might get into a financial engineering program which is pretty decent without work experience. But understand, when you're looking for a full-time job after you graduate, right? In finance specifically, all recruiters are going to ask, okay, what prior experience do you have? Why should I, hire you? And that's where, when your classmates sitting with you have 1 to 2 or 3 years of work experience, that becomes a little bit more valuable in terms of recruitment, in terms of starting salaries, right? So to make your life easier later, strongly consider getting 1 or 2 years of work experience. That's better for your career, right? It's very easy for me to say right now, yeah, it's a wonderful degree, I'll help you and I'll get you in, which we can, but we look to the long-term return on investment for you. I think take a pause, get some work experience. That would be beneficial if you're looking for financial engineering. Wonderful program. You can look at Columbia, UCLA, outstanding programs for financial engineering. UT Dallas has a wonderful financial technology program, which is a safer, easier to get into sort of school.
Lovely. Okay. The next question is, how hard is it to get into UC Santa Barbara for a master's in computer science? Again, folks, when you ask me how difficult or easy is it to get into certain degrees, I'm not going to be able to tell you that without knowing details about your profile. UC Santa Barbara is a good mid-tier school. Usually folks with anything above a 7.5 to 8.2, that's in terms of the GPA, that's the right target school for you. What is going to be the average pay? The average pay is going to be anywhere from about 90,000 US dollars to 105,000 US dollars. What are some of the best universities in Netherlands for data science? Sure. Okay. There are 2 or 3 that makes the most sense. TU Delft, 100%. University of Amsterdam is the second one. And then Groningen is the third. These are 3 institutions that make sense in Netherlands. What about Australia for a master's in computer science? One of the things that we put up, and I'm going to go back to that slide, right? Like is making sure that you are going after this big return on investment. Understand that Australia is an immigration hub. It's not a country where a lot of people go in order to get a really good high quality education. Australia is a country that a lot of people go just to migrate, to immigrate, to stay back, etc. In terms of education, masters in computer science, apart from maybe Sydney and Melbourne, does not make sense. So if you're able to get into the top 2 or 3, sure, go for it. Otherwise, does not make sense. All right, let's look at a bunch of other questions. Why is Canada not recommended? And Stikar, you can feel free to jump in at some point in time on this. But in general, Canada, when we compare US to the Canada, first of all, understand that North America is basically these 2 countries, right? 340 million people in the US versus about 40 to 50 million people in Canada. One of the biggest problems with Canada is, again, politically, climate-wise, right now, not some really good country for you to go to. From an immigration perspective, it makes a lot of sense. But from a job opportunities, from a paying how much exorbitant amount of taxes, plus not making nearly enough as your US counterparts, because of these 3 reasons, at this moment in time, we can't really recommend Canada as much. All right, next question. 320 in the GRE and 15 months of WorkX. Does that negate the 7.5 lower GPA? Okay, here's how admissions committees think about all of these things. First, the GPA. How rigorous was your undergraduate degree? And for a rigorous undergraduate degree, how well did you do? The GPA is a metric that tells the university how well you will do in their master's degree program, which is relatively rigorous, right? So a lower GPA in their head signifies that your capacity, your ability to do well on a rigorous program is slightly on the lower end. The GRE is a 10th grade math and English exam. That's never going to compensate for your GPA. However, work experience and having really good letters of recommendations from those that have either taught you or that you have worked with is a short way of making sure that you can compensate a little bit for that lower GPA, but neither is going to compensate fully. Is 8.1 good for an MS in CS? Sure. What else do you have, right? It's not just the GPA. You have to make sure that everything aligns towards a particular goal and to that particular degree that you're applying to. So make sure that you have other stuff outside of the GPA, but 8.1 is pretty decent. All right, let's take this one live. Would you please elaborate a little bit more about a gap year before master's without any WorkX, just brushing up my skills and working on some research? All right. My assumption, first of all, culturally, only Indians are very opposed to the idea of a gap year. Most US citizens / folks that studied in the US or any Western part of the world usually always take gap years between their undergrad and graduate degrees. What they do during those gap years is completely up to them. Some of them travel, some of them try and figure out what they want to do in life, etc. So it's a very Indian cultural sort of a thing that folks don't really enjoy or like or see the gap year in a bad light. Don't worry about it as long as you're doing something meaningful and can justify why you've taken that break in terms of either upskilling, like you're saying, or working on some research with some output that comes out of it. A gap year is okay. Don't worry about it. I have a 8.2 GPA. What can I do more to upgrade my profile? You haven't done nearly enough. I mean, I don't know what you've done. You only have a decent GPA. I don't know what else is in the rest of the profile. Please make sure to schedule a free consultation, talk to us and tell us the entire profile, and then we'd be able to help you out with the rest of what needs to be filled in. Okay, let's see. Hi, Suraj, 320. This is something that I've just answered. What if GPA is not up to the mark? What can we do to make sure that we are compensating for that GPA? All right, again, same spiel. GPA is equal to how good are you in an academic setting under a rigorous course load. If GPA is on the lower end, show them the other side of it. Maybe theory was weak, but practical applications of the kind of stuff that you did is very, very strong. Maybe you have a lot of internship, work experience, and research experience, right? These are some ways to compensate a little bit for the GPA. But for all of my first, second, and third year friends that have joined in, make sure to keep your GPAs as high up as possible. That's the one big criteria that is going to get you into some of the top institutions all across the world. I'm curious about the H1B. What if mine doesn't get picked in the third time lottery as well? What happens to the ROI in that case? Sure. Okay. Let's think about it this way. The H1B is a lottery. Yes. This year, just this year. So FY25 for financial year 25, the percentage of someone who did a master's degree and was entered into the lottery, the chances of them getting the H1B was about 32, somewhere between 28 and 32%, which means there's a 1 in 3 chance that you will get picked in the lottery. Now think about it from 3 years perspective. Even if you do not make it in the 3 years, you have, even if you take a loan of about 70 to 80,000 US dollars, you should be living frugally, of course, able to clear off all that loan amount in your 3 years after your master's. As long as it's a STEM degree, you get 3 years in the US. And this 3 years, earning whatever amount of money, you should be able to clear the education loan. After that, you have a bunch of other choices. You can go on to the O1A or an O1B visa, EB1A, EB1B if you're crazy genius, or move to another country temporarily before coming back to India on an H1B or an L1. Those are some of the other choices that you guys have.
All right, I just want to take a couple of questions that I was answering, and I think I've answered a few on text. This is important for all of you in general, right? You'll face this dilemma and you'll lose out on applying to certain universities because of this, right? For a GPA conversion from 4 to 10, right? So usually I'm sure most of you guys get a percentage or a GPA on a scale of 10. US universities ask for it on a scale of 4, right? And then they say minimum GPA to apply 3, essentially. So understand this, the conversion from a 10 scale to a 4 scale is not a direct conversion. If you have a GPA of 7 on 10, it doesn't translate to a 2.8 on 4, right? A 7.5 on 10 doesn't translate to a 3 on 4. It's not a direct conversion. It is a weighted conversion, right? 3 on 4 is typically a bare minimum passing GPA. If you've cleared your engineering in 4 years with a GPA upwards of 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, it is more likely that you have finished that GPA or you've crossed the GPA requirement of 3 on 4. So don't think if you have a 7 GPA, you can't apply for every university that has a 3 out of 4 cutoff, right? In 95% of the cases, universities will do the conversion themselves. For you to understand, typically a GPA of an 8.5 plus is considered excellent. A GPA of an 8 plus is considered good. 7.5 plus 7 to 7.5 plus is considered average, and anything below 7 becomes a little bit of a problem, but it varies from program to program as well. You need somebody to evaluate based on past data of admits of Indian GPAs, whether you stand a chance at these universities, and we can do that. But please do not do a direct conversion and think your GPA is low. That is never the case, right? And another question that I'd like to answer from I think a very specific question. What is the ideal GPA, GRE, and work experience for courses like MIS and MEM? All right. So for MIS, typically about 1 to 2 years of work experience is preferred, except very few programs like say the UWash program, University of Washington, which has an early career option. For MIS, 1 to 2 years of work experience recommended. For MEM, you can apply as a fresher or you can have 5 years, 6 years, 3 years, 7 years of experience, doesn't matter. But MIS work experience is a requirement usually. The ideal GPA, look, I'll give you a brief snapshot, right? Because I don't want to fall prey to bad information. Typically, for MEM, if you have a GPA above an 8, you can crack a top 10 program. You might crack a top 5 as well. Out of the 40, 50 people who've gotten in this year, a lot of them had GPAs around an 8, right? GRE, I said filtering parameter. People with a 309 have gotten into Carnegie Mellon's MIS. People with a 312 have gotten into Berkeley's MIS. People with 315 have gotten to the University of Washington MIS, right? So GRE, as long as you're in the 310 to 315 mark, especially for MIS and MEM, it doesn't matter as much. So just get started with the process and get your university shortlist sorted, right? MIS, MEM, each program has its own unique curriculum with all different career outcomes. So understanding which one makes more sense for you in terms of your career outcomes, your return on investment, your job role, right? Please get your university shortlist started early and start thinking about the process early as well. Right, Suraj, you can continue. I think there's one about cybersecurity. Very interesting.
Yeah, I get to the cybersecurity first, but before that, there's a question on what are the best universities for data science courses in the US. We did an extensive video on this on our YouTube channel, Jeevat. If you can put up the YouTube channel, there's a particular video where I talk about the top 5 and then give you 2 bonus universities for data science. I forget the order now, but without thinking about the order, the good data science programs are Michigan has a fantastic data science, UWash, Carnegie Mellon, NYU, Columbia. These are some of the best data science programs that are available in the US. All right. One shameless plug, Jeevit's been bugging me to do it on Slack on my other screen. We're doing a master's in computer science and allied fields masterclass. I think it's towards the sometime next week. Jeevit will put up all of the information regarding that particular masterclass. Anybody who's looking to go do anything related to computer science. If you're a computer science undergrad looking to do straightforward computer science, best place to be. If you're a non-computer science student who's trying to figure out how to break into computer science, I will give you a breakdown of all of that as well. So the link to that will be in the chat. The link to that will also be sent to you over WhatsApp, emails, on our social media, etc. Please make sure to register for that. All right. Great question. Please elaborate about professional master's degrees. What are the options? I'm a software developer engineer. Great. So there are 2 kinds of master's degrees that are available, and I will cover this in a lot more detail on my masterclass, on my CS masterclass. But for now, suffice it to say, there are 2 kinds of programs across the board. One, research-based academic programs, where the idea is for you to maybe at some point in time either go towards a PhD or go towards the research divisions within big corporate firms. That's the idea. Second, professional master's degrees, non-thesis programs, where the idea is for you to directly get into corporate and start working and adding value straight away. Those are the 2 kinds of programs. If you are a software developer and if you want to straight away start working after a master's, it makes sense for you to go to a non-thesis professional master's degree. All right, cybersecurity. Here's the deal about cybersecurity. Controversial opinion, do not do it. Cybersecurity master's degrees are very, very specialized. First of all, as international students, when we are going to a different country, one of the biggest things we want to make sure on top of the ROI is to make sure that there are enough job opportunities for the field that we are getting into. Let's talk about the biggest market there is for cybersecurity, the US. Within the US, most of the firms, you think of Booz Allen Hamilton as the biggest private security / cybersecurity contractor, right? Most of their contracts are government contracts. Most of the clients that they work on are the government clients, which means that in terms of you being able to get some job opportunities, that's a very, very narrow sort of field as of now. My recommendation for anybody who's thinking about cybersecurity is do a computer science and then specialize in cybersecurity, or do a information systems and specialize in cybersecurity. Don't get a standalone degree in cybersecurity. Doesn't make sense at this point because of job opportunities. Application for scholarships like RATA, etc., should be filled right after an admit, or should we reach out to the university before that? Which universities offer scholarships for MSCS? I will cover this again on the masterclass. Make sure to come there. But in terms of scholarships, the way to get it is right after you get an admit. That's the way you can negotiate with institutions and have them bid for you rather than you going and telling them, hey, I need some money. So right advice, I think the right time for you to apply to scholarships, internal university scholarships, are going to be after the admit. What are some universities that offer scholarships? All of Texas institutions offer whatever amount of scholarships. Virginia Tech and UIUC, Virginia Tech, UIUC, and North Carolina State. Fantastic scholarship opportunities. Some of our students that have gotten in this year have gotten a full ride plus $3,000 in return as monthly allowance. So fantastic places to apply to if you have the profile. English part of the GRE, complicated, how to prepare for it. 3 or 4 things I'll tell you. We did a masterclass on the GRE. Go back and watch the recording for that. If you don't have it, ask someone. We'll get that to you. Second, Magoosh free test. I put the link in the chat section. Go ahead and take a look at that. Third, we have an entire bundle of material to prepare for the GRE. Jeevat, just make sure to coordinate and get it to anonymous attendee. Why can't you guys just put names? All right, masters in the engineering management program. Which school should be best bet for masters? I have a GPA of 8.6. All of the top 10 are available. We will need a lot more information for us to assess which kinds of universities you have a decent shot at getting in. With an 8.6, I'm fairly confident you will get into a top 8, top 10 max, right? Schedule your free call. I think we'd be perfect partners for you. I'm going to put up that slide again. This is fascinating stuff, right? Like in the last so many years of us working, all of these institutions have a fantastic MEM program, and just having 13 out of 50, where is Duke? Duke, 46, upwards of 50 out of a class of 200, unheard of numbers. So we'll be the perfect partners to get you into some of the top 8, top 10. Make sure to schedule a free consultation with us. Okay, this is not true at all. So the question is, few universities mention that if you apply early, Speaker, I'm answering that question live, so don't bother typing out an answer. How can we apply early in every university? You're no longer applying to an undergraduate degree, Ananya. You're applying for a master's degree. There is no concept of early decision or early action for a master's. There is no university that is going to come and tell you that if you get in, you have to come and just attend this university. You can't apply to others. That does not happen at all. So don't worry about it. The faster, the earlier you apply, the higher your chances of getting in. In fact, I was looking at some of the numbers this year. 22% higher chance of getting in as compared to someone who has exactly the same profile that applies in January versus you applying in November, December timeline. So absolutely something that I would recommend. Okay, 320 GRE, I just answered this, so should be okay. You guys don't repeat the questions. I can see the questions. I will go through them. Please don't repeat the questions. If I did not, and look, there's already upwards of 100 more questions and we are at 8 o'clock. There is no way, and this happens on every single Gradvine webinar, by the way, and we are extremely sorry that we are not able to answer every single one of your questions on this session. That's why we've given you an entirely free 30-minute slot just for you, dedicated, right? Completely free of cost. Talk to us in detail about your profile. Give us more specific insights about what you want to do, why, etc., and get all of the information that you want answered on that 30-minute call. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to answer all questions. We'll take a couple more. Good MEM programs that have product management. Duke comes to mind, Dartmouth comes to mind, Northwestern comes to mind, and my alma mater, Carnegie Mellon, comes to mind. Speaker, I don't know if you want to add something right now or later. I'm going to leave this question in here if you want to type something. All right, let's talk about the economic downturns. So the question is, how have economic downturns affected job opportunities? Here is some data for you to think about. Folks that graduated in December have already gotten jobs. There are very, very few people that are unemployed. This is April. They have taken a little longer than usual to get a job, but they have been able to find a job, which means that we are seeing a slow recovery. And by the time you apply and go through and graduate, it's going to be about 3 more years at least, which means by then there will be surplus amount of jobs. It will return back to pre-COVID levels. So you should be okay. The best place to be in during a recession is in school. You know exactly what skills are going to be required. You know exactly how to get those skills. You know exactly what the employer is expecting. And so you can match both of those and be able to find a job. All right, another plug for my CS Masterclass. These are the kinds of questions that I'm absolutely going to be going into a lot more detail on that CS masterclass. Unfortunately, this is a much more generic webinar for everybody to get a sense of how to plan their master's journeys, etc. So our top conference papers required, not necessary, but there are other things that are going to be required. So stay tuned and come to that CS masterclass. I will answer this one in detail. CS during undergrad, MS in CS is competitive. So doing MS in CS is important, or having good admit is important. Yeah. Look, the way to think about it is, in the US, employers don't really care about what the name of your degree is. They care about what skills you have. They care also about the kind of preparation you put in to crack their interview and whether you're going to be a good fit for them or not. Therefore, it does not matter if you've done a computer science master's, an information systems master's, a data science master's, an analytics master's, or a software engineering master's. I will talk more about this on the CS masterclass, but these are 5 degrees that you can do, which are very similar and have very, very similar outcomes as well right after you graduate. So make sure to think about it from that perspective. Think about it from a skills perspective rather than a degree perspective. Good MEM with co-op. Duke has a program that Duke's MEM program from this year has a co-op. So Duke is #1. Northeastern, probably one of the other places. We've done a bunch of videos on this. Please make sure to go ahead and take a look at some of those. Is it possible to get non-collateral, non-cosigner loan for enough amount to complete? Yes, absolutely possible. There is no way in 2024 and beyond any student is going to be left behind because they were not able to pay for a fantastic university that they have gotten into. We will make sure that that does not happen. We are working with a bunch of partners, including all of the top banks, including aggregators, etc. So it's not going to be a problem. Please make sure to sign up with us. Best programs for data science outside of the US. Couple of programs come to mind: ETH, TU Delft, EPFL, KTH. These are all places that have fantastic data science programs outside of the US. MS ECE with not so excellent profile. Okay, so I'm going to go tier 2, Arizona State. One of the best, actually, Arizona State's electrical engineering ECE, CE programs compete with the likes of a Carnegie Mellon. I know I'm exaggerating maybe a little bit, but trust me, Arizona State in their electrical engineering department, one of the best places to be in. Northeastern, another fantastic institution. UT Dallas. You should look at the universities in California, not USC and UCSD because they are top tier, but UC Irvine, Riverside, and Santa Barbara. Those are a couple of institutions and places that you should be in for ECE. Shikhar, go ahead. Looks like you're trying to answer a question live.
No, I just kept that for you.
Okay. I'm doing a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. You want to take this one?
No, go ahead. I'm typing out answers.
Okay. I have a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, 2023 pass out, 9.27. Fantastic. Congratulations. Published 3 papers. Attended 1 conference, software internship. I want to pursue master's in computer science. How hard is it for me to get? It breaks my heart, my friend, to tell you that a top 10 masters in computer science is probably not on the cards for you. I get a lot of brickbats year on year for my answer to this question. I don't have an undergraduate degree in computer science. Can I go do a master's in computer science? The simple answer is no, with an asterisk, with a caveat. Some folks are able to do it, especially if they've taken some prerequisite CS courses, DBMS, data science, data structures, algos, operating systems, object-oriented programming, cloud computing. If you have these prerequisites, maybe. Otherwise, I would highly recommend going into something that is CS-alike, a data science degree, for example, an information science degree, for example, or a software engineering degree, for example. Come to my masterclass. I will break this down into detail as to why it is not possible, and I will answer that question there as well. How does companies in US hire? Oh, you've got to get your spellings right, my friend. HIRE versus HIGHER. Hire versus actually getting hired. Okay, how do companies in the US hire? Companies in the US do not hire the same way as it happens in India. There is no campus placements where you write a test, you go to interview, and then you are given the job. That's not how it works in the US. Companies in the US come onto campus and talk about their open positions. What are the different kinds of roles they're hiring for? What does the company work on? What does the company's culture look like, etc.? And then advertise their open positions. You apply through the college portal to these open positions. You get an interview offline, and then the process goes through. There is no written tests of any sort. There is no aptitude checking, etc. All of that doesn't happen. But there is no companies coming onto campus, putting a test, hiring you right there, giving you an offer letter. All of that doesn't work. Okay, wow. Every time we do these webinars, I'm amazed by the number of questions and just overwhelmed by the end of the session. Okay, let's go a couple more. Geetam student, fourth sem exams. Way too early, come back later. US and Ireland. Okay, so think about it this way again. US 340 people, Ireland barely 10, 12 million people, not even as big as the size of Hyderabad, for example, right? So just considering the job opportunities, the size of opportunity, tuition fee versus return on investment, etc., there is no comparison between the US and Ireland. US is far above and beyond any other second, 3, 4 sort of countries. So it makes sense for you to go to the US. (9.6) computer engineering, research papers, etc. Considering masters, what university should I target? Okay, fantastic. First of all, target computer engineering masters and not computer science masters. California, San Diego, USC, 2 fantastic choices. NYU, Columbia, another fantastic set of institutes that you should definitely apply to. Carnegie Mellon. I'd love to work with you one-on-one on this, man. I think you have a fantastic profile. We have a very, very good shot of getting you into some of the top 10, top 15, actually top 10 definitely institutions in the US. So something that we would love to partner and help you with. All right, fantastic question here. What course is better for a more business communication and leadership-based job? MEM or MIS? How much role does coding skill play in MEM and management information systems? Okay, so here's how I will answer it. Depending on how much WorkX you already have, because that's going to be one of the biggest criteria, right? Without WorkX, it's going to be very tricky for you to break into leadership-based roles. So the degree that you do does not actually matter as much as the previous work experience that you're coming from. If you are not really a person that enjoys programming, do not do MIS. It will have a lot of programming. If you are someone who literally only wants to do product management, supply chain management, etc., do the MEM degree. But if you want to have a little bit of component of programming that you have as part of the degree, then it makes sense for you to do the MIS.
Suraj, I wanted you to answer one specific question from Abhishek. Interesting question. I think I marked it.
Okay, yeah, I got it. BCom and MCom with a CPA in India, 5 years. I already did. I texted this, but am I eligible to apply for an MS and IS? Absolutely, yes. What are my chances? Give a good GRE, have a good GPA. Your chances of getting into the top 10 or the top 15 are excellent. Understand that the MIS degree, the prerequisites to get in is basically some sort of a quantitative degree. It does not really mean only engineering. There are a bunch of folks that have made it in with a BCom, MCom combination or an economics finance combination as well. Therefore, your work experience within the IT sector is going to be key. Make sure you have a good GPA, make sure you have a good GRE. You should be able to get into some of the top 10, top 15 MIS degrees. You want to take a couple questions and then I'll come back in?
Yeah, I'm going to take a question because I think this is going to be beneficial for all of you who are still here and listening in, right? So the question is from Para Kacharia. So I'm in my final year of environmental engineering. I have a GPA of 3.3, no prior work experience. Should I take online courses related to the MEM to get in? And here's the thing, right? Online courses never help for your chances of getting in, right? Because there are no validation of your academic credentials, because online courses anybody can pay and you can get in, right? And quite honestly, nobody knows of the quality, even if you clear an exam and get a certification, what the standard of that exam or certification is, right? So online courses do not help you at all. Again, if your GPA, if you've done a self-conversion, I wouldn't think it's very accurate, but if it's what the university has given you, it's a decentish sort of GPA. Overall, if you have for the MEM, right? Typically, if you have strong technical projects, that's what you need for an MEM, because engineering management programs, the first and foremost requirement is that you show them you're a good engineer, that you can solve problems using engineering. And then you make the argument that I want to solve these problems at scale using the engineering management program, right? Because engineering translated to business is engineering management at the end of the day. So how are you using your technical skills and you're solving problems, at the ground level in your college at your work, but how are you going to solve it for, 100,000 people at a time through a product, through an engineering management program, right? So that's what you need to show. Good technical projects will compensate for it, not really any online courses.
Does too much work experience, more than 2-3 years, create an adverse impact on the application profile for applying for a master's in mechanical engineering? Does not, man. We've had folks that have had upwards of 5-7 years of work ex as well. If you're going above that, at that point in time, I'd genuinely recommend that you consider an MBA instead of a regular master's degree. But if the skill is something that aligns with what you want from a master's degree, from a master's in mechanical, go for it even when you are 50-year-old, right? Fun fact, when I was in my degree, I had 0 work ex, and I was sitting right next to a person who was from the US Army, who'd worked there for 40 years. He was, I think, 57 or something, and was coming back to school to get a master's degree. So the whole idea of age or having too much experience is not something you need to worry about at all. So don't think about it too much.
All right, I think we're coming right to the end of this. We'll answer a couple more questions, but guys, once again, if we are not going to be able to answer all questions, we're not even halfway through. It's not even funny at this point. And thank you for so many of those questions. We'll try and answer a couple more by the time we end this. But please don't hesitate. We won't bite on that free consultation call. We won't do hounding for sales. We'll give you genuinely good advice, and you can get the resume template, and you can get that free GRE sample as well. So utilize our expertise. Trust me, once you get on that free consultation call, that person on your call will become your best friend throughout the process, whether you sign for a paid service or not. So schedule it, get all your doubts cleared. We feel very bad that we can't answer every single question, but again, we've already gone past the 8 p.m. Barrier. We're going to try and answer a couple more, but please don't hesitate to schedule that free consultation, get all your advice, and get your material as well, which would be incredibly useful.
There's about 70 more people on the call. I want to run a simple poll, but while I'm running that, I'm also going to try and answer another question. The next question is very, very interesting. 9.6 computer engineering from the University of Mumbai. And then the question here is, do I have shots of getting into a top US MSDS? Absolutely. I think with that profile, if you don't get into a top 10, there's something wrong, right? So highly recommend just talking to us, because I am quite excited when I see profiles like this, people that have actually genuinely worked towards a particular dream, etc. I love working with ambitious students as well. So 100% recommend that you schedule at least a free consultation with us. We'd love to help you out. ROI when you pursue a master's in engineering management. Any master's in the US, this is how you calculate ROI. Your investment, which is the I part in ROI, is going to be anywhere from about 60,000 US dollars all the way to about 90,000 US dollars, right? So that's going to be the amount of money you're putting in. Return for that, if you're graduating from a top 20, top 30 institution, your first job will be anywhere, irrespective of what job it is. I'm not going to say for MEM specifically, whatever. Your first job should be ideally anywhere from a 85,000 US dollars all the way up to 150,000 US dollars. Let's consider that 85,000 mark. If within that 85,000 mark, after all taxes, after all kacha, everything else, you're able to save even $40,000, you will be able to pay off the loan in about 2 to 2.5 to max 3 years. After that, everything else that you make is going to be a profit. So that's the way I think about return on investment. right? How has the recession affected other fields? Do you think CS is more impacted? Others are similar. Recession or the downturn in general has affected all fields pretty similarly, but every single field is making a turnaround, right? We are seeing about 100,000 jobs being added. We are seeing a bunch of laid off folks being able to find a job even before their period of getting out of the country has ended, etc. We're seeing a lot of positive signs. So you're okay. Don't worry about it. MEM with supply chain. I think Purdue has it. Srikar, just see if you want to talk about this particular question. What universities in the US are there for MEM with supply chain in their curriculum? Pretty much every single MEM has it. Duke has it. Purdue has it. Okay, Lakshman, just stop spamming, man. MEM programs that have co-ops and that you can use to get into product management. Duke, Northeastern, Northwestern, right? These are 3 programs that you can definitely leverage. I have my own service-based startup where we take up web application development, etc. Apart from this, I have 6 months of internship. How beneficial is that going to be? Very, very beneficial. Depends on the kind of university/course you're applying to. If you're applying to, let's say, a computer science master's with research degree, not going to be something that you can use, right? Does not make sense. But if it's going to be an MEM degree, on the other hand, fantastic for you. All right, I think that's all the questions that we are going to be able to take. I have another call that I need to jump to. But thanks so much to everyone that has attended this on a Friday evening, nonetheless. Think about this as the starting point for all of your preparation towards that fantastic master's degree. Hopefully, you've gotten enough general information and some starting guidelines on how you should think about the country, what are the timelines you need to follow, how should you be making that decision in terms of which degree to apply to, etc. Right? With this starting information, throughout the rest of the application timeline, we will be doing a bunch of webinars. The one that I can think of is my Masters in CS Masterclass. Anybody who's thinking of anything related to CS, I'll go deep into that. Seeker keeps doing his engineering management masterclass as well. And there's going to be a lot of resources available to you. In terms of resources, let me just jot them down. One, we shoot a bunch of YouTube videos. That's where everything is going to be, right? So that's one. Go follow us, subscribe to our YouTube. You will see fantastic value there. Second, we now have a WhatsApp community. Link is in the chat. Make sure to sign up there. We'll, by the way, send you either a WhatsApp message or an email with both the recording of this session and all of the resources. To anybody taking the GRE pretty soon, we have a dedicated webinar that we did, plus the Magoosh code that you can use to get your free test, plus the third thing is the GRE folder that we've created with a lot of resources. So these are 3 things that are going to be available. And in general, both Srikar and my LinkedIn is very open. Please feel free to connect with us. Happy to help. While we might not be able to go deep into every single DM and answer them in detail, we will try and make sure we answer as many questions as possible there as well. Having said all of this, your biggest resource is a 30-minute free consultation slot with us. The amount of information that you will get on that free consultation is equal or more than what you will get even if you paid a consultant outside, irrespective of whether you sign up for some of our services or not. By the way, there's a bunch of services that we have. Irrespective of whether you sign up for our services or not, you will get absolutely immense value just from that free consultation. So I would highly encourage everyone to go schedule your free calls. The link is right here. It's on the screen. Share that QR, just scan it, share it with your friends, and I hope to see you one-on-one on some of these free consultation calls. All right, Srikar, any last parting thoughts before we end the webinar?
No, I think that's about it. We've gone well over time, and I hope it was valuable for you guys. Stay in touch with us. We'll be doing a bunch of more tailored sessions, and the way these webinars are going to be structured also are going to be with what the most important topic is at the time of the year, right? Like I'll be doing an SOP masterclass, I'll be doing a resume masterclass, an additional documents masterclass, a timeline masterclass, how to shortlist universities. So we keep doing a lot of this. So stay in touch with our mailing list. That's how you keep getting information about it. And I hope you found this useful. It was lovely interacting with you guys, and have a wonderful weekend.
Take care, guys. See you.